Welcome to Primavera P6. Every successful project depends not only on the good planning, but also on the ability to organize, schedule, monitor, and control work effectively. So in today's engineering and construction industries, projects are becoming larger, more complex, more time-sensitive. So whether you're working in civil, mechanical, electrical, infrastructure, oil and gas, manufacturing, or any other project-based field, proper scheduling and project control plays a major role in delivering work on time and within budget. Primavera P6 is one of the most widely used project management and scheduling tools in the industry, and this course has been designed to help you understand it from the basics. So in this course, you will begin with the foundations of project management, including what a project is, the meaning of programs and portfolios, the 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas, and the key planning metrics used in professional project control. From there, you will be introduced to Primavera P6, its industry applications, its data structure, and how to navigate the software interface. You will then learn how to set up a project properly by creating the enterprise project structure, organizational breakdown structure, work breakdown structure, and the project calendars before adding activities to the schedule. So as the course progresses, you will learn how to create activities, define relationships, apply logical sequencing, and run the critical path method to calculate project schedules. You will also understand how to manage resources, roles, duration types, and resource leveling to resolve over-allocations. This course will then guide you through baselines, progress updating, project tracking, earned value analysis, and advanced project controls such as constraints, codes, issues, thresholds, documents, notebooks, and the complete Primavera P6 workflow from the project setup to closure. This course is not only about learning software commands, it's about developing practical project planning and control skills that are used in real projects every day. So whether you are a student, a planning engineer, a project engineer, a site engineer, or a professional looking to move into project control or management roles, this course will help you build the confidence to plan, schedule, monitor, and control projects effectively using Primavera P6. So by the end of this learning journey, you will have a strong understanding of how professional project schedules are created, maintained, and controlled. So let's begin this learning journey and take your first step towards mastering Primavera P6 and growing into a skilled project planning and control professional. So before we move on, let me share something exciting with you guys. If you are serious about building a strong career in project management, then the PMP certification training in collaboration with Simplilearn can be a great next step for you. This course is designed to help you understand project management in a practical, structured, and exam-focused way. You will learn important concepts like project planning, work breakdown structure, resource allocation, Gantt charts, risk and issue management, stakeholder communication, cost and budget planning, schedule management, agile and hybrid delivery, leadership, governance, and value-based project delivery. What makes this course even more useful is that it also covers modern project management skills like GenAI in project management, sustainability, business value, and real-world decision-making. So whether you are a project manager, team lead, software developer, project executive, engineer, or someone who wants to move into project management, this course can help you build the confidence, structure, and skills needed to manage projects better and grow in your career. So now let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to this course on Primavera P6. This course is structured with one goal in mind: to give project managers, project control engineers, planners, and scheduling professionals a practical, structured understanding of how to build, manage, and track real projects using Oracle Primavera P6. Whether you work in construction, oil and gas, infrastructure, aerospace, pharmaceuticals, or any other industry where large-scale projects delivery matters, Primavera P6 is a skill that sits at the very core of the effective project controls. Yet it is rarely taught in a way that is both complete and practical. And that gap is exactly what this course addresses. This course walks you through the complete P6 workflow from the moment you open the software for the first time all the way through project creation, scheduling, resource management, baselining, project updating, earned value analysis, and advanced project controls. So let me give you a quick summary of the topics covered in each module. Module 1 introduces the foundations of project management. That is, what a project is, what program and portfolio means, the 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas, and the planning metrics you will rely on throughout your career. Module 2 covers getting started with Primavera P6. That is, an introduction to the software, its industry applications, the data structure, and how to navigate the interface. And Module 3 covers the project setup, how to create the enterprise project structure, organizational breakdown structure, work breakdown structure, and project calendars before a single activity is added. Module 4 covers activities, relationships, and scheduling, creating activities, sequencing them with logic, and running the critical path method to calculate your project schedule. Module 5 covers resources, roles, and leveling, building your resource library, assigning labor, equipment, and materials to activities, understanding duration types, and evolving resource over allocation through leveling. Module 6 covers baselines, progress updating, and project tracking, freezing your approved plan, recording actual progress, and measuring performance using earned value analysis. Module 7 covers advanced project controls, constraints, project and activity codes, issues, thresholds, documents, notebooks, and the complete P6 workflow from the setup through the closure. So now let's get started. So in this course, you understood key project management foundations and P6 concepts. You learned the difference between projects, programs, and portfolios, along with the process groups, knowledge areas, planning metrics, and milestones. These concepts create the foundation for using Primavera P6 efficiently. You also learned how Primavera P6 helps project teams build realistic schedules, manage resources, monitor progress, and compare actual performance against the approved plan. It turns project data into clear control information. You also learned how to structure a project from enterprise level down to individual activities. This includes defining responsibilities, organizing scope, setting work calendars, and assigning resources. You also practiced using the critical path method to calculate schedules and identify high priority activities. You also learned how baselines, updates, and EVA measure schedule and cost performance. You understood how these tools help improve filtering, reporting, risk visibility, and project documentation. They also support better communication, traceability, and decision making during project execution. You also understood that a P6 schedule is only valuable when it is updated regularly and reviewed honestly. Consistent updates help team detect delays early, control risk, and make confident project decisions. So in this course, you will learn the foundation of project management, including projects, knowledge areas, planning metrics, and milestones. These concepts will help you understand how project work is planned, measured, and controlled before using Primavera P6. You will also learn how to navigate Primavera P6 and understand its interface, industry applications, and data structure. You will explore how P6 organizes information from enterprise-level structure down to projects, work breakdown structure elements, and activities. You will get a clear understanding of how to build project schedules by creating activities, applying relationships, and identifying the critical path. This will help you understand how project timelines are calculated and which activities directly affect the project finish date. You will see how P6 helps balance resource demand with availability to create more realistic and achievable schedules, how to create baselines and update project progress and track performance using earned value analysis. These tools allow you to compare actual progress against the approved plan and measure schedule and cost performance objectively. You'll also learn how to apply advanced project controls using codes, issues, thresholds, documents, notebooks, and complete P6 workflow. These features help improve reporting, accountability, risk visibility, and professional control throughout the project lifecycle. So in this module, we will begin by understanding what a project truly is and how it differs from ongoing operations, programs, and portfolios. We will then explore 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas that form the backbone of a modern project management. We will examine the planning metrics and milestones that allow us to measure progress before looking at the tools and techniques available to project managers. Finally, we will see exactly where Primavera P6 fits within the framework and why it is the tool of choice for complex, resource-loaded schedules. So let's start at the very beginning. And by the end of this course, you will be able to open Primavera P6 and build a complete professional-grade project schedule from the scratch. You will know how to define the project structure, create and sequence activities, load resources, set a baseline, update progress, and measure performance using earned value analysis. So what is a project? So before we open Primavera P6, let me tell you 3 terms you will encounter constantly in this Primavera. They are project, program, and portfolio. Let's define each of them clearly. So what is a project? A project is not an ongoing activity. It has a clear beginning and a clear ending. It starts when a specific need, goal, or problem is identified, and it ends when the objective has been achieved or the project is formally closed. So for example, constructing a building, developing a mobile app, or organizing an event are projects because they begin at a certain time and finish once the final result is delivered. So every project is carried out to produce something specific and unique. The outcome may be a physical product, a new service, or an improvement, or a final result. For example, building a new bridge creates a unique product, launching online banking creates a unique service, and conducting a market study creates a unique result. Even if similar projects have been done before, each project is unique because its location, people, budget, timeline, and requirements may differ. The word temporary is important in a project because it separates projects from regular operations. Operations are continuous and repetitive, while projects are limited in duration. For example, manufacturing cars every day is an operation, but designing a new car model is a project. So once the new model is designed and approved, the project ends. This temporary nature is projects require careful planning, scheduling, budgeting, and control to complete the work within the given time. So projects are not ongoing operations. They are different from regular operations because they do not continue forever. A project is completed once its specific objective has been achieved, while operations are repeated continuously to keep an organization running. For example, building a new factory is a project because it has a start date and an end date, and a unique outcome. But running the factory every day is an operation because it is continuous and repetitive. So this means project needs special planning, schedules, budget times, and deadlines. Operations, on the other hand, focus on maintaining regular business activities efficiently. So let's see a few examples. Building a hospital, developing a software application, constructing a highway are all the examples of the project. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So let's now understand about a program. A program is a structured collection of related projects that are managed together because they contribute to a larger strategic goal. While each project within the program may have its own objectives, timeline, team, budget, and deliverables, the program focuses on the overall benefit and outcomes that can only be achieved through the coordinated management. For example, consider a highway expansion program. This program may include several individual projects such as widening existing roads, building new projects, improving drainage systems, installing traffic signals, and developing service roads, and also upgrading toll plazas. Each of these projects can be planned and executed separately, but they are all connected because they support one major objective. That is, improving transportation capacity, reducing traffic congestion, increasing safety, and supporting regional economic growth. So managing this as a program provides several advantages. First, resources such as engineers, contractors, machinery, materials, and funding can be shared or allocated more efficiently across projects. Second, reporting becomes more consistent because progress, cost, delays, and risks can be reviewed at the program level rather than only project by project. Third, risk can be managed in a coordinated way. For instance, if a delay in a bridge construction affects the road widening schedule, the program manager can adjust timelines and resources across the entire program. Program management also helps ensure that all the projects remain aligned with the broader strategic objective. Instead of focusing only on whether one road segment is completed on time, program management looks at whether the entire highway expansion is delivering the intended benefits such as smoother traffic flow, reduced travel time, and better connectivity. In this way, a program provides greater value than managing each project independently. So let's understand about program benefits. Resources such as people, equipment, materials, and funding can be used across multiple related projects. This reduces duplication and improves efficiency. Aligned reporting. Progress, cost, risk, and outcomes are reported in a consistent way across all the projects. This helps management get a clear overview of the program. Risk affecting one project can be identified and managed before they impact the other projects. This allows better planning and faster corrective action. Now let's understand about portfolio. A portfolio sits at the highest level of a project management and includes a collection of projects, programs, and operations managed together to achieve the organization's strategic business objective. Unlike a single project or a program, a portfolio focuses on the overall value, priority, and alignment of all the investment with business goals. For example, a company's entire capital investment plan across different departments, locations, and countries can be considered its portfolio. Now that we understood the three terms, let's now see about the process groups and 10 knowledge areas. The Project Management Institute, or PMI, is the global body that defines a best practice in a project management. So its framework organizes project management around 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas. So the first one is initiation. The initiating process groups marks the formal beginning of a project or a new phase. This is where the project receives authorization to exist. Key activities include defining the project at a high level, identifying stakeholders, appointing the project manager, and producing the project charter. It's a document that officially authorizes the project. So without a proper initiating process, projects often start without clear objective, authority, or stakeholder alignment. The next is planning. The planning process group is where the roadmap for the entire project is built. This is the most detailed and document-heavy process group. It covers defining scope, developing the schedule, estimating cost, planning resources, identifying risk, and establishing communication and quality plans. In Primavera P6, the planning process groups is where you build your activity network, assign resources, run the critical path method, and set the baseline. A well-executed planning process is the single biggest factor in project success. The third is executing. The executing process group is where the actual work of the project is carried out according to the plan. Teams are mobilized, resources are deployed, deliverables are produced, and the procurement is managed. The project manager's role during the execution shifts from the building the plan to leading people, managing vendors, resolving issues, and ensuring the work is completed to the required quality standard. In P6, execution is reflected through regular progress updates and activity completions entered against a baseline. The fourth is monitoring and controlling. This process group runs continuously in parallel with all the other process groups from the project start to finish. It involves measuring actual performance against the approved plan, identifying variances, and taking corrective action when necessary. This is where tools like earned value analysis, schedule variance reporting, and resource utilization tracking becomes critical. In P6, every time you update progress, reschedule, and compare actuals to the baseline, you are performing monitoring and controlling. It is a feedback loop that keeps the project on track. And the last is closing. The process groups formally includes the project or phase. The closing process group formally concludes the project or phase. It involves verifying that all the deliverables have been accepted, releasing resources, closing contracts, archiving project reports, and conducting a lessons learned review. In P6, closure includes finalizing all the activity actual dates, confirming 100% completion across the schedule, and archiving the project data. A properly closed project protects the organization legally, captures institutional knowledge, and sets the foundation for better performance on the next project. So these 5 process groups are not the phases of a project. They are categories of process that can occur at multiple points throughout the project life cycle. Monitoring and controlling, for example, runs continuously in parallel with all the other process groups. Primavera P6 is your primary tool in planning, executing, and monitoring and controlling process groups. It helps you build and maintain schedules, manage the resources, and track actual progress against your approved plan. Now that we have got a clear understanding about the 5 process groups, let's now look into 10 knowledge areas. So these are the 10 knowledge areas. The first one is integration. Integration management is the glue that holds all the other knowledge areas together. It involves coordinating all the aspects of a project so that every process, plan, and decision works in harmony. Key activities include developing the project charter, creating the project management plan, managing project work, handling change control, and formally closing the project. Every change made in one knowledge area, say an extension to the schedule, must be integrated with its impact on cost, resources, and risk. Without strong integration management, projects become more fragmented and uncoordinated. The next is scope. Scope management is about defining and controlling what is and what is not included in the project. It involves collecting requirements, defining the full scope of work, creating the work breakdown structure, verifying the deliverables with stakeholders, and controlling scope changes. In Primavera P6, the work breakdown structure is the direct expression of the scope management. Every node in the work breakdown structure represents a defined piece of scope that must be planned, executed, and delivered. Scope creep is a gradual, uncontrolled expansion of a project scope. It's one of the most common reasons projects run over time and over budget. The third is schedule. Schedule management involves planning, developing, and controlling the project timeline. It covers defining activities, sequencing them with logical relationships, estimating durations, and developing the schedule using the critical path method. This is the knowledge area where Primavera P6 delivers its greatest value. P6 allows you to build a fully logic-linked resource-loaded schedule, calculate early and late dates, identify the critical path, monitor float, and update progress against the baseline throughout the project lifecycle. A realistic, well-maintained schedule is the project manager's most powerful communication and control tool. And the fourth, we have cost management. It involves planning, estimating, budgeting, and controlling the project cost so that the project is completed within the approved budget. It includes resource cost loading, budget development, cost baseline creation, and earned value analysis. In P6, cost management is built directly into the scheduling environment. Resource rates applied to activities generate budgeted cost automatically, and as actuals are recorded, cost variance and cost performance index values are calculated in real time. This integration of schedule and cost is what makes P6 the tool of choice for large capital projects. In the fifth, we have quality management. It ensures that the project and its deliverables meet the defined standard and requirements. It covers quality planning, defining what quality means for this project, quality assurance, auditing process to ensure standards are being followed, and quality control, inspecting deliverables to confirm they meet specifications. While Primavera P6 does not replace dedicated quality management systems, it supports quality management by linking quality-related activities into the schedule, ensuring inspections, reviews, and approvals are planned, resourced, and tracked like any other project work. Sixth, resource management. Resource management involves identifying, acquiring, developing, and managing the people, equipment, and materials needed to complete the project. It covers resource planning, team development, conflict resolution, and resource optimization. In Primavera P6, resource management is fully integrated with the schedule. Labor, non-labor, and material resources are created in the enterprise library, assigned to activities, analyzed through resource histograms, and leveled to resource over-allocation. Effective resource management prevents the two most common resource, running out of key people at critical moments and discovering overcommitment too late to act. Seventh is communication management. Communication management ensures that the right information reaches the right people at the right time in the right format. It involves planning who needs what information, how it will be delivered, and how often. On any project, the majority of a project manager's time is spent communicating with the team, with stakeholders, and with the contractors. In P6, communication management is supported through scheduled reports, layouts, and dashboards that translate raw schedule data into clear, audience-appropriate summaries. A well-maintained P6 schedule is only valuable if the outputs are communicated effectively to those who need to act on them. Next is risk management. Risk management involves identifying, analyzing, planning responses to, and monitoring risk throughout the project. A risk is any uncertainty event or condition that, if it occurs, could have a positive or a negative effect on project objectives. Risk management is proactive. It is about thinking ahead and not reacting after the fact. In the context of scheduling, risk often manifests as float consumption, activity delays, resource shortages, or external dependency failures. P6 supports risk management by maintaining schedule float visibility, tracking constraint impacts, and through integration with Oracle Primavera Risk. Maintaining schedule float availability, tracking constraint impacts, and through integration with Oracle Primavera Risk analysis for full quantitative schedule risk assessment. Next is procurement management. Procurement management covers the process of purchasing or acquiring products, services, or results from the outside the project team. It includes planning procurements, conducting competitive bidding, managing contracts, and formally closing procurement agreements. So in project scheduling, procurement activities are critical path items on many large projects. Long lead equipment deliverables, subcontractor mobilization, and permit approvals are frequently the activities that determine whether a project finishes on time. In P6, procurement milestones and activities are built into the schedule like any other work, with constraints applied to reflect contractual delivery dates and lead times tracked through the activity network. Next is stakeholder management. Stakeholder management involves identifying everyone who has an interest in or is affected by the project, understanding their expectations and influence, and engaging them appropriately throughout the project lifecycle. Stakeholders include the project owner, client, end users, regulatory authorities, community groups, and the project team itself. Poor stakeholder management is one of the most frequently cited causes of project failure. In P6, stakeholder management is supported through clear, accessible reporting that gives each stakeholder group the visibility they need into schedule status, progress, and forecast completion in a format that is meaningful to them. So now let's look at two concepts you will use every day in a project management, and they are planning metrics and milestones. Planning metrics are measurable indicators used to monitor the health and performance of a project. Duration, budget, cost at completion, units consumed, and percent complete. These are all the planning metrics. They give you objective, quantitative data to support decisions. So why do planning metrics matter? They give you the objective, quantitative data to support decisions. Planning metrics provide objective and quantitative information that helps project managers make informed decisions. So instead of relying only on opinions, assumptions, or rough guesses, metrics give measurable evidence about project performance. They show whether the project is progressing as planned, whether resources are being used effectively, and whether corrective action is needed. Without planning metrics, project management can easily become guesswork. A manager may feel that the project is going well, but without the data, it is difficult to prove whether the project is actually on schedule, within budget, or meeting performance expectations. This can lead to late decisions, cost overruns, missed deadlines, and poor resource allocation. And with them, you can focus on questions like where are we, such as completed task, actual cost, actual time spent, resources usage, and these help identify the project's real position. Where should we be? This question compares actual progress with the planned baseline. Schedule plans, budget estimates, milestones, and performance targets show whether the project is ahead, behind, or on track. What will it take to finish on time and within budget? This question helps the manager forecast future performance. Metrics can reveal whether more resources are needed, whether the schedule must be adjusted, or whether cost needs to be controlled more carefully. So let's understand what a milestone is exactly. A milestone is a zero-duration activity that makes a significant point or event in the project schedule. Example, foundation complete, design approved, procurement issued, or system go live. Milestones have no work associated with them. They are checkpoints that signal the completion of a phase or the start of a key deliverable. In Primavera P6, milestones are created as either start milestones or finish milestones depending on what they represent. So now let's look at the project management tools. When it comes to tools, project managers have a wide range to choose from. From simple Gantt charts in Excel to Microsoft Project to Oracle Primavera P6 for large, complex, resource-loaded schedules. Simple Gantt charts in Excel are the most basic form of project scheduling. They are easy to create, require no specialist software, and can be understood by anyone. A project manager manually draws bars across the timeline to represent when each task starts and finishes. While useful for every small project or for quick visual communication, Excel Gantt charts have significant limitations. They have no logic linking between tasks, no automatic date recalculation when something changes, no resource management capability, and no built-in critical path evaluation. If one task slips, every downstream date must be updated manually. For anything beyond a simple short duration project, Excel quickly becomes inadequate. Whereas Microsoft Project is in the middle between Excel and enterprise level scheduling software. It offers automated scheduling with logic-linked activities, basic resource assignment, and leveling critical path calculation and baseline tracking. It is widely used for small to medium-sized projects across industries such as IT, marketing, and general business operations. Microsoft Project is relatively easy to learn and integrates well with the broader Microsoft Office ecosystem. However, it has limitations. When it comes to very large multi-project environments, it struggles with thousands of activities across multiple concurrent projects, lacks the depth of resource management needed for larger engineering projects, and does not offer the enterprise-level reporting and portfolio visibility that complex capital projects demand. Oracle Primavera P6 is the industry standard for planning, scheduling, and controlling large complex resource-loaded projects. It is built for environments where projects involve thousands of activities, hundreds of resources across multiple disciplines, complex contractual constraints, and rigorous reporting requirements. P6 is used globally across constructions, oil and gas, infrastructure, aerospace, utilities, and government capital programs. It supports full enterprise project structure management, multi-project resource leveling, detailed earned value analysis, threshold-based issue monitoring, and integration with cost management and risk analysis tools. Where Excel fails at scale and Microsoft Project reaches its limits on complexity, Primavera P6 is preferred. So to install the Primavera in your laptop, you just have to go to Google and search Primavera P6 application. As soon as you go to Oracle Software Cloud, you'll be redirected to this page, and you have to just click on the Create Account. You have to enter the necessary details, password, your country and name, job title, etc. Just make sure your password is strong and fill in all the necessary details. So as soon as you create the account, you'll be redirected to this page, and you have to check your email for the code. As soon as you enter the code, you'll be having this page. You just have to click on sign in and then sign in with the details that you just entered. Just fill the username and the password that you've just created your account with. And you can set the multi-factor authentication for this. And you have to enter the code that has been sent to your mail ID again. After you enter the code, you just have to click on continue. And then you'll be redirected to this page. Here you just have to search for Primavera P6 Professional Project Management and click on this one. then you'll be getting a lot of results. Just always try to download the latest version. You can click on download and it will start downloading. So you can view here which all the items you have put for upload and select on the one as soon as it got downloaded and just click on continue. And click on I agree and then click on continue. Then all the folders will be downloaded in your laptop. Here you can see the one that is downloaded recently. You just have to click on that and select the path that you want it to be downloaded in. So you can just click on browse and the folder path, desktop or downloads, wherever, and you just have to, if you want to have it in a separate folder, you can create a folder like this for Primavera and then click on that, and all the folders that you've been downloading right now will be downloaded into that folder, that particular folder. And then you can click on open destination. You'll be seeing these downloads. You just have to unzip them and you can use it. You can click on extract all. These will be extracted. This is the document that has been extracted from that particular folder. You can open this and then click on extract. Here you can click on P6 professional setup, and here you'll be having a properties box. Here you can click on typical and then click on OK and click on install. It will be installed. All the packages will get installed. So you can see the status there. So it's installed now. You can just click on run database configuration and click on OK. So here you just have to add the driver type, connection string, and password, username, etc. You just have to click on new connection. In the driver type, you can select on professional P6 professional SQLite, and then click on login name, personal name, and then you can enter the password. You have to remember this password because as soon as you open the software, you have to enter the password and the username. So you can change the name or the dollars as well. You can just click on save. So it is saved successfully. So here in the menu, you can select for P6 Visualizer into 64. So you can open that and you just have to enter the username and password that you've just entered. I have entered the username and the password that I've created and then click on next. So you can just click on connect and it will be connected and the software will be opened. So this is the full setup of how you have to install the Primavera P6 in your laptop. The best thing is after the setup, you don't have to have a Wi-Fi or internet connection. So the best thing here is you don't have to have the internet connection after installing. So just have to install this and then, yeah, that's it. So welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we'll get an overview of the key concepts that are essential for creating and managing projects in Primavera P6. We'll begin by understanding the enterprise project structure, that is EPS, which helps organize projects within an organization, and the organizational breakdown structure, which defines project ownership and responsibilities. We'll then learn how to create a new EPS, create a project within that EPS, and explore the important settings available during this project creation. Next, we'll see how to create OBS elements and assign them to projects to establish accountability and control. We'll also introduce the work breakdown structure, activities, and activity relationships, which form the foundations of project scheduling. In addition, we'll briefly discuss project scheduling concepts, the critical path method, and resource management. So by the end of this lesson, you will have a clear understanding of how all these components work together to create, organize, schedule, and manage projects effectively in Primavera P6. So let's get started and see how everything works. So now that you've installed Primavera P6 on your laptop, this is how it works. Let's understand each and every step clearly. So at the very top, we have this enterprise, and here we have enterprise project structure. So as you can see, there's the organizational container for all the projects in the system. Think of it as a folder structure. It mirrors your company's organization hierarchy. So below enterprise, we have individual projects. So these are the individual projects, and each project has its own schedule, budget, resources, settings, and all. But it lives within the enterprise. Enterprise is the EPS, and here we have all the individual projects. So it can also share enterprise level resources, calendars, and codes. And each project has a work breakdown structure, which we'll see in some time. This work breakdown structure breaks the project into manageable tasks, each of which can be reported on independently. So all of them doesn't depend at once, each can be reported on independently. And at the lowest, we also have these activities. Activities is like the individual task that makes up the whole schedule. They have durations, relationships, and costs which are assigned to them. Everything in P6 ultimately comes to the activities. So if you can see here, this has 5 activities. Each of them is related to each other. Yeah, each of them has also a code, a resource ID, resource name, primary role, default units, and time. So now we'll look into all of this clearly step by step. So first, we'll create an enterprise project structure, that is EPS. Click on Add. Basically, we are creating EPS because it's a top level hierarchy, and it allows you to organize all of the company's projects into logical groups in the same way that folders can organize files in a computer. So, for example, a construction company might have EPS called infrastructure and another called commercial buildings and a government project. So all of these individual projects sits within these nodes. So executives can then report on all the infrastructure projects together or all the government projects together, and they can go through the data without mixing the data. So that is why we are creating 3 EPS nodes now. Let's create new enterprise project structure. If you click on Add, you can give it a new EPS ID and a EPS name. Let's create infra. Because infra is already there and it should be Unix, so I've given infras. Infrastructure. So yeah, now this EPS is created. If you want another one, you can also add another as well. Commercial. So basically, we're adding 3 enterprise project structure nodes to get a clarity. You can also add government and name it as government projects. So we've added, you can now close it and it will reflect it here. So these are the EPS nodes that we have created. We can open this project. So now we can name the project ID and project name. Let's name it as Infras 001 and Highway Construction Project. You can also specify the planned start and must finish date for the project. So So as you can see, this is the must finish by date is the date by which all the project activities must finish. So if enter, it is used as the project late finish date by the project scheduler. So you can enter the date here by which you want the project to finish, and you can click next, and now the project is created. Now you can open the project. So the OBS defines who in your organization has responsibility for and access to specific projects or the work breakdown structure nodes. So it is essentially a security and accountability structure that maps to your company's specific departments and management hierarchy. The EPS tells you how the projects are grouped, and OBS tells P6 who is responsible for each group. So when you assign organization breakdown structure, you are defining who has the authority to view or modify the data. So the project controls division and infrastructure team, these people have the authority to view or modify the data that you've entered in the Primavera P6. So this is critical for large multi-project environments where different teams own different parts of the schedule. So let's create OBS now, that is organizational breakdown structure for highway construction project. So now you can add the organizational breakdown structure here. Sorry, here you can add project control division. And inside the project control division, you will have infrastructure and buildings team. So when we assign the project to a person, we will link it to the infrastructure team here in the OBS. Now let's leave it here. So basically this ensures that only the members of this team can modify the project data. Now that we've added, you can check if it is, yeah, it is there. So now we can start building our project. But let me tell you 3 things that are very important before you start a project. Step 1, ensure your EPS structure is in place. Step 2, ensure your OBS is defined. And step 3, ensure your calendars are created. Calendars is where you can assign a date and the working hours for people. So this is basically the corporate standard full time. We can, if you want, you can add another timings, and the default would be 5-day work and 8 hours. So as it's already there, we don't have to add it. Now that we've created our project and assigned the necessary structures, let's move on to building and managing the project schedule. In this lesson, we'll understand how activities are created and organized within the project. We'll learn about activity relationships and how they help establish the logical sequence of work. Next, we'll explore project scheduling and understand how Primavera calculates the project timeline. We'll also discuss the critical path method and its importance in determining the project's completion date. In addition, we'll learn about the 3 resource types available in Primavera P6, how to create resources, and how to assign them to project activities. So by the end of this lesson, you will have a clear understanding of scheduling, resource management, and the key components required to build an effective project plan. Let's get started. So let's go to the file and create a new file. So now let's add the work breakdown structure in our project. So let's create a work breakdown structure for our project. In our project, the first level will be the construction itself. And under the construction project, we have different work breakdown structures such as civil work, structural, MEP, etc. So let's name first as civil. And under civil, we can add multiple work breakdown structures, which comes under civil works, like excavation, foundation, waterproofing. We can also add another work breakdown structure here in highway. This will be structural works. So we have created a work breakdown structure here. Now let's assign activities for our project. So P6 basically supports 5 activity types. Task-dependent activities are the most common, and their duration is fixed regardless of how many resources are assigned. And resources-dependent activities have the duration calculated based on the resources and the units assigned. So level of effort activities have the duration of surrounding activities, and they are used for overhead tasks like project management or safety monitoring that run continuously along the project work. And start and finish milestones are the zero duration markers for key events and decision points. So we'll add the activities now. To add an activity, we just have to press insert or select add here and enter the activity ID. Let's say we want to add activity here inside the civil works. So let's add the activity here, site mobilization. You can change the activity type if you want and the fixed durations as well. So I'm adding 4 activities here. So for each activity, we have activity ID, activity name, work breakdown structure, location, calendar, activity type, original duration and all. But we just have to enter the activity and activity name. If you want, you can also change the activity type to the one you want and the calendar, etc. Now the main thing here is we need to add the relationships between each activity. So to add the relationships, we just have to connect them. It has the sequence in the project. So now that we understood about the activities, let's put the relationship between each activity and understand the concept of relationship. So activities are just phases, but if you add relationships between each activity, there would be a sequence in a project. So the project manager would also understand what is happening after when, and to have a clarity, relationship is very important in assigning in the project. So let's assign each of the activity a relationship. So the first one is site mobilization. Because this is the first activity, there is no predecessor for this, but the successor in this would be the soil inspection. So let's go to successors tab. To assign the relationships, you just have to click on the activity, go to the successors here, and then click on assign. So the successor would be soil inspection. You just have to click assign and it will be assigned. For soil inspection, the predecessor would be site mobilization, obviously. Because obviously after the site mobilization only the soil inspection activity should start. So the predecessor for this would be site mobilization and the successor will be excavation. Now it's assigned. For excavation, the predecessor would be soil inspection as we've talked about it, and the successor of this will be foundation concrete. So predecessor is basically when the predecessor activity completes only, the activity that is mentioned in the successor activity can start. So this is assigned. It was assigned 2 times. We can delete it. And for the foundation concrete, predecessor is the excavation and successor will not be anything because this is the last one. So this is the whole process. So now that we've understood about the activities and the relationships, let's understand about project scheduling. So scheduling is the process of calculating the start and the finish dates for every activity in your project based on the durations and relationships you have defined. So the algorithm Primavera P6 uses this critical path method. So it works in 2 mathematical passes through the network. So the forward pass calculates the early start and early finish of every activity, beginning from the project start date and moving forward through the logic. And the backward pass calculates the late start and late finish of every activity, beginning from the project completion and working backwards through the logic. So basically the difference between the late and early dates gives us the float. So the total float is how much an activity can be delayed without pushing the project end date. An activity with 20 days of total float can start up to 20 days late and the project will still finish on time. Free float is how much an activity can be delayed without delaying its immediate successor. So activities with 0 total float are on the critical path. If we have delay in any of the project, then the finish date moves. These are the highest priority activities to monitor. So now that we understood about all this, we will look into the schedule of the project. We can go into schedule and here you can take the Gantt chart. This is the project that we've created. So this is what we've created. This is classic schedule layout. Activity IDs, those are A1000, 1010 and activity names, start and finish date and the site mobilization, excavation and all the activities that are there. Welcome back. We'll now have a quick overview of all the key concepts we have covered throughout this demo, including EPS, OBS, project creation, work breakdown structure, activities, relationships, scheduling, and resource management. We'll then look at how to create and use a project baseline and understand its importance in tracking project's performance. Finally, we'll compare the baseline schedule with the current schedule and explore the available visualizations in Primavera P6 to analyze project progress and identify schedule variances. So by the end of this lesson, you will have a complete overview of the project lifecycle in Primavera P6 and understand how to monitor and evaluate project performance effectively. So now let's get started. So now that we've understood about the classic layout schedule, let's come back to our project and assign the resources. So in P6, roles and resources are completely different. A role is like a job, title, skill, or a function, like senior engineer, site supervisor, crane operator, welder, etc. But the resource is the actual person or equipment or material. So the 3 resource types in P6 are labor. So labor means people like engineer, supervisor, worker, etc. And non-labor is the equipment such as excavator. And non-labor means equipment such as excavator, crane, concrete pump, trucks, etc. And material is consumable items such as concrete, steel, cable, pipes, bricks, etc. So materials are measured in physical units like m cube, tons, meters, kilograms, etc. So to create resources in P6, we have to go to Enterprise and then click on Resources and click on Add. Here you can add the resources. You can add a resource ID such as engineer. You can also select the resource type, that is labor. Units of measure is $50 per hour. You can select anything. and maximum units or days. Now we have assigned resources in P6. We have to assign resources to the activities. So these resources are created, we have to assign them to the activities. How to assign them? We have to go to the activities window and then select an activity. Here in the resources column, we have to add the resources. So we can assign them here. Like that, we have to create resources for all the activities and assign them there. Let's create 3 resources. As we can see here, we assign resources, senior engineer. The days and the hours are also automatically displaying it here. So let's add different resources. So let's add 5 resources here. So we have 5 of them now. Let's assign them. So let's go to excavation and assign the engineer here. So we can check here in the resource assignments that all these have been assigned to the people. Senior engineer manages the soil inspection and engineer manages excavation, site mobilization. We can assign different resources to people and assign them in the activities. So the foundation concrete can be done by operations. And so basically I've given you an example of how all these works. So these are the resources that we have assigned to each of them. And here the calendar that is displaying is how many hours that it's dedicated to each of them. This also we have mentioned there, so 8 hours. So this is the total of all the operations engineer, senior engineer together works for this many hours. So this is how it works. You can go back to projects and check if your project is there here. This is a project that we've created. So yeah, this is a project that we've created. This is how all the things in the Primavera P6 works. The basic things is, first we have to create an enterprise project where we have to go to enterprise section and go to EPS and like create new nodes. In the new nodes, we add the projects that we want to build, such as highway construction project. This is the main heading, main project that you have to mention in the EPS. And then we'll go to the OBS and create the organizational breakdown structure for each division, such as project control division has infrastructure and building team that we created today. So you can create as many OBAs as possible for better understanding of the project. And after OBAs, we'll go to work breakdown structure. So you'll get a lot of clarity when you create the work breakdown structure, because here you can see how it works. Like highway construction has civil works. In civil works, you have excavation. So everything is basically detailed. In detail, it is present here. In civil works, you have excavation, foundation, waterproofing, and then in highway, you have the second as structural works and finishing. So you'll get a detailed picture of your project, and that would be very easy. After work breakdown structure, you will be creating activities. So if you go to the activities, you can create as many activities as possible. I've created 4 of them to show you, such as site mobilization, excavation, foundation, etc. And after this, we have to assign resources. You can also schedule that, as I've shown you. There's a Gantt chart. You can go to that and schedule the project when you want to complete it. So after creating the activities, you can also go to the visualizer and schedule it. So you can open from the existing, and before we have seen the classic schedule layout, now let's look at the baseline versus current. So it shows we have created only 4 activities, so it's showing us only 4. Site mobilization, we've also added the date there, so it's showing 13th May and finish 19th. It is assigned to the engineer, and it also shows when it will be completed. So this is how the baseline versus current works. We can also have a look at the already existing project. So for example, let's take this. So as you can see here, there are different activities that are present. So you can just understand how the project, when the project will start, finish, and who these for whom the project has been assigned to, and when have they started, how much time they've taken. So system design, the activity system design is started on 24th October and it finishes on 8th December. It is assigned to these people, and they have started it on 24th October and they'll end it on 8th December. So everything is well structured in this visualizer. If you just take a project and look at it, you will not understand. If you visually see it, how and when it will assign and when it will finish, it will be easier for you to understand how the project, like when the project will start, finish, and to whom this project is assigned to, etc. So for that, this visualization is used. So yeah, after scheduling it, you can assign resources. You can also assign resources, and you can link these resources to the activities. That's how everything works in Primavera P6. I hope you got a clear understanding of everything works, and you can now clearly build from scratch. Well, Welcome to this module. In this module, we'll cover the advanced project controls features that distinguish a basic P6 user from a professional project controls engineer. We will look at project and activity codes, the labeling system that enables powerful filtering, grouping, and portfolio reporting. We'll then cover issues and thresholds, P6's built-in early warning system. We'll explore documents, notebooks, and feedback, which together create a comprehensive project information record. And we'll close this course with a complete review of the end-to-end P6 workflow from setup through the closure. By the end of this module, you will have mastered the full capability of Primavera P6 as a professional project controls tool. So now let's get started. So first, let's understand what are codes, what are project codes and activity codes. Codes in Primavera P6 are the labels that you can apply to projects and activities to organize information in a more flexible way. Project codes are applied at the project level. They help categorize and filter projects across the entire portfolio. For example, projects can be grouped by region, client name, contract type, project phase, or delivery method. This is especially useful for executives and senior management because they may not want to look at each project separately. Instead, they may want reports showing all the projects in one region, all projects for one client, or all the projects under a specific contract type. So what are activity codes? Activity codes are applied at the activity level. They allow you to tag individual activities with useful information such as discipline, phase, zone, location, or responsibility. They help users filter the schedule and focus only on the activities relevant to them. For example, a structural engineer may only need to view structural activities, while a site manager may only need to view activities happening in a specific zone. On large projects with hundreds or thousands of activities, activity codes make the schedule easier to manage and communicate. Now let's understand how to create project codes. To create a project code, navigate to the Enterprise Project Codes, click Add and create a code type such as region, then add values like North, South, East, and West. After creating these values, you can go to the project details and assign the correct region to the project. Once assigned, P6 can group or filter portfolio reports based on that region. So let's understand how to create activity codes. To create activity codes, navigate to Enterprise and Activity Codes, create a code type such as discipline and add values like civil, structural, MEP, architectural, or commissioning. After that, assign the correct discipline code to each activity in the schedule. This allows users to quickly filter activities based on their discipline or responsibilities. Let's now look into issues and thresholds. So what are issues and thresholds? They are the proactive monitoring features in Primavera P6. They help the project team identify problems early instead of waiting until they become major delays or cost overruns. So how to create a threshold? To create a threshold in Primavera P6, first navigate to the project menu and select thresholds. A threshold is a monitoring rule that helps P6 identify possible problems in the schedule automatically. Once you are in the threshold section, click Add to create a new threshold. Select the parameter you want P6 to monitor. For example, you can choose total float if you want to track activities that are getting close to the critical path. Then set the lower threshold value to 5 days. This means P6 will check whether any activity that has total float lower than 5 days. If an activity falls below this limit, P6 will treat it as a warning condition. After that, assign the threshold to the correct work breakdown structure level. You can apply it to the entire project if you want P6 to monitor all activities, or you can apply it to only a specific work breakdown structure if you want to focus only on one part of the project. Finally, set the responsible person who should be notified or assigned when the threshold is breached. Once the setup is complete, every time you run the scheduler, P6 checks the threshold conditions. If any activity violates the rule, P6 automatically creates an issue. This helps the project team identify problems early, take corrective actions, and prevent small schedule risk from becoming major delays. So what are issues? Issues are the formal records of problems that arise during a project. Each issue contains important details such as status, priority level, description, responsible person, target resolution date, and notes. The status may be open, in progress, or closed. This helps the project team track problems clearly from identification to resolution. Instead of discussing issues informally, P6 gives a structured way to record, assign, monitor, and close them. Now let's understand how documents, notebooks, and feedbacks matter in the project management. Primavera P6 also helps manage project information beyond the schedule itself through documents, notebooks, and feedbacks. These features allow the project team to store supporting information, record important decisions, and capture updates from the resources. Together, they help build a complete project record within the P6 environment, instead of keeping all the project information scattered across emails. Documents are also called as work products and documents. These allow you to link external files to a project or to specific activities. These files can include drawing references, technical specifications, contract documents, inspection reports, or any other project-related files. By attaching a reference URL or a file path to an activity, the schedule becomes a central navigation point for project information. When a team member opens an activity in P6, they can immediately access the documents related to the work without searching through emails or shared devices. So what are notebooks? Notebooks are the free text notes that can be attached to activities, work breakdown notes, or the project itself. They are useful for recording planning assumptions, site observations, meeting decisions, or explanations for schedule changes. For example, if an activity duration was increased because of the site access issues, that explanation can be recorded in the notebook. This creates useful context around the schedule data and helps future users understand why certain decisions were made. When the notebooks are used consistently, they create a narrative record alongside the numerical schedule data. This becomes especially useful during the claims, audits, reviews, and lessons learned sessions where the project team may need to explain why certain schedule decisions were taken. So let's understand about feedback. Feedback is a feature specially designed for environments where resources submit timesheets through the P6 web interface. When a resource records their hours against an activity, they can add a text comment describing what was done, what was encountered, or what is still outstanding. This feedback is visible to the project manager alongside the timesheet data, giving qualitative context to the quantitative hours. For large projects with many resources submitting timesheets remotely, feedback significantly improves the quality of the progress information reaching the project controls team. So now that we have come to the end of this module, let's bring everything we have learned in this course together into a single clear workflow. This is the sequence you will follow on every project from the first day of the planning through the project closure. So the phase 1 is setup phase. In this phase, you configure the enterprise project structure and the organizational breakdown structure. Then you create global and project calendars, create the project with the correct settings, build the work breakdown structure, and define project codes and activity codes. This phase creates the foundation for the entire schedule. So if the setup is weak, the schedule becomes difficult to manage it later. Next comes planning phase. In this planning phase, you build a complete activity list using realistic durations and correct activity types. Then you establish the relationship network by connecting predecessor and successor activities. After that, you assign resources from the enterprise resource library, run the scheduler, and review the critical path. This phase converts the project scope into a logical, time-based schedule. Let me give you a quick tip. After the initial schedule is built, you need to analyze resource usage. If there is over-allocation, you can resolve it through logic adjustment or resource leveling. Then review the schedule with the project team and stakeholders. Apply external constraints only where they are genuinely needed and validate the plan before approval. This ensures that the schedule is not only technically correct but also realistic and accepted by the team. So the next phase is baseline. Once the plan is reviewed and approved, you save the baseline and assign it as a project baseline. From this point forward, the baseline is treated as frozen. It becomes a reference point for measuring all the future progress. Any changes after this stage should go through a formal change control process. A new baseline should be saved only when the proper authorization is given. Phase 4 is execution and monitoring. At the start of each reporting period, you advance the data date. Then you collect actual progress information from the field, including the actual start dates, actual finish dates, remaining durations, and physical person complete. After entering information into P6, you reschedule the project and compare the updated schedule against the baseline to see whether the project is on track, ahead, or behind. After the project is updated and rescheduled, you calculate and report earned value metrics. You also monitor thresholds, resolve issues, update notebooks with key decisions and observations, and generate reports for stakeholders. You also monitor thresholds, resolve issues, update notebooks with key decisions and observations, and generate reports for stakeholders. This gives you and the project team a clear view of schedule performance, cost performance, risk, and corrective sections. So let's understand about the P6 workflow. This workflow is a discipline and not a one-time event. In Primavera P6, creating a schedule once is not enough. To get real value from the tool, you need to update the schedule regularly, review it honestly, and use it to support real project decisions. A project keeps changing every week or every month. Some activities finish early, some get delayed, resources may become unavailable, cost may increase, and new risks may appear. That is why regular schedule updates are important. When you update P6 consistently, the schedule stays closer to the real project situation instead of becoming an outdated document. You also need to review the schedule honestly. If an activity is delayed, it should be shown as delayed. If the critical path has changed, it should be accepted or analyzed. Hiding delays or entering inaccurate progress only makes the schedule unreliable. The real purpose of Primavera P6 is not just to create reports. It should help you make better decisions. For example, you can decide whether to add resources, change activity sequencing, adjust timelines, escalate risk, or take corrective action. When used this way, P6 becomes a practical project control system that helps you plan, monitor, and deliver projects more efficiently. So that's the end of this module. In this module, you have learned how to use Primavera P6 Advanced Project Controls features to manage projects more professionally. You explore project and activity codes for filtering, grouping, and reporting schedule data, and learned how issues and thresholds help identify problems early. You also understood how documents, notebooks, and feedbacks create a complete project record, how the full P6 workflow connects setup, planning, baseline, execution, monitoring, and project closure into one disciplined project control process. So congratulations on completing this course. You now understood the foundations of project management and where P6 fits within the global project management framework. You can navigate the P6 interface with confidence. You can now build a complete project from scratch. EPS, organizational breakdown structure, work breakdown structure, calendars, activities, relationships, resources, constraints, and codes. You can run the scheduler, interpret the critical path, and analyze resource loading. You can set a baseline, update progress, and measure performance using earned value analysis. And you can use P6 advanced features, issues, thresholds, documents, notebooks to maintain a professional project record throughout the project lifecycle. For your next steps, I recommend you 3 things. First, practice. Open P6 and build a small project from scratch using everything covered in this course. Use a real project from your own organization or create a simple fictional one. The only way this knowledge becomes skill is through repetition. Second, explore reporting. P6 has a rich reporting module that we touched throughout the course. Built-in reports for schedule, cost, resource usage, and earned value are available immediately. Customized reports can be built to match your organization's specific requirements. Third, consider certification. The Oracle Primavera P6 certification validates your knowledge of the software at a professional level. The foundation you have built in this course gives you an excellent base from which to prepare for the exam. So thank you for your time and commitment. Primavera P6 is a powerful tool, and like all the powerful tools, its value depends entirely on the skill of the person using it. You now have the knowledge, you can now go and apply it.